symmetry. Even, you know, one thing I am curious about is the notion of the golden ratio, because that comes from our heartbeat all the way out to everything with symmetry and beauty.
Well, that would be the golden mean. The golden ratio would be sort of a real built-in living library formula that establishes a ratio and a basis from which, you know, reality can be built. One of the interesting things the Pleiadians said about old building that was made with beauty and built with the golden mean was that they didn't just factor in, you know, this ratio. They also factored in the effect of sunlight on buildings, okay? And that how, when buildings were constructed, say such as the Acropolis or something like that, that how sunlight would, where it would touch it and how it would be in relationship to the sun would also create a sustainability. And that if we built an orientation...
A sustainability for the
meaning the product would last
or,
longer.
Oh, the product
The product itself, so that whatever you were building with,
right.
when, if you used wood or stone or whatever, particularly stone, that by the effect of sunlight on that stone, using the golden mean ratio to start with, it would then last much, much longer in time, because all of these, you know, elements of beauty and the multiverse would be factored in. So today, we're like blind mice building stuff, and it's all money, and it's all just thrown up, and there's no aesthetics.
No.
And on some level, people don't demand it because I think we're being entertained to death.
Yes.
There's so much to choose from, and none of it has much quality or substance to it. And that's symptomatic, I think, of people having lost meaning. Our society does not honor people who want to contradict what's going on, rightly so, because the media controls everything just about.
It's been hijacked completely.
Yes, completely, and none of it's really the truth. So there's this sort of desperation in people's souls, and they don't know what to do, and they've given up. And they've lost their own vavoom, you know, to be individuals. But that's turning, that's changing, because I think people reached the bottom of emptiness now.
Yeah.
You know, especially this last year, it's like, you know, how much more trivial could it get? And so there is a big turnaround happening, but no one can expect anyone to do it for them. One of the things the Pleiadians taught me is that no one's going to save you. Nobody's going to come through the dimensions or walk through the doorway, or the government's not going to fix it for us.
You mean they're not landing on the White House lawn?
They're not saving anybody. We have to raise our consciousness, and we have to get up and do it ourselves. The Pleiadians have often said that, you know, we're very lazy. And they also have said that we're highly unpredictable too, and that's what they love about us. That no telling when the herd's going to turn, because we can just suddenly respond to something, you know, very intuitively. So what people have to do is they have to accept responsibility. Our thoughts, our feelings, and, you know, our imagination, this is how reality is created. And we're all doing it all the time. And the energies of these times are sort of unplugging us from the old paradigm. And whether we choose to unplug ourselves, or whether society starts having greater and greater difficulties on the economic level, that certainly will unplug people from the paradigm on one level, because they will have to become more autonomous, more clever, you know, more innovative in how they deal with the world, and how they reuse their resources and recycle and become, you know, like clever, as I said, you know.
Go back to their own source.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a very clever family, you know. Everything was used, everything, we were innovative, and everything had a purpose. And I grew up in the 50s, and so we've kind of lost that, and especially as we lose our elders. They're leaving, you know, our parents and grandparents, and they're taking great wisdom with them, real practical wisdom.
Well, it's our generation now.
Right.
We are the elders.
Right, and you know, we're you know, those of us born in the 40s and 50s were Pluto and Leo. And so we really like to play, you know, we really are like big players. And our parents were more, and grandparents had to, you know, be more practical. The energy of today is bringing us back to practicality. I think that's the name of the game in the next few years, is that everything has to simplify, become more practical, and now those things will take people into the higher mind.
And one of the things you were talking about last night, in fact, I think at this point in the lecture, it was actually you were channeling at that time. They were talking about all of the elements, and you mentioned one in your own personal life, and that is the reconnection with the earth, the reconnection with the sunlight as grounding, not only grounding, but also allowing us to begin going back into a state of wholeness and opening our abilities, right?
Right. I mean, I've always been someone who enjoys the sun. And I've never said, you know, I'm going to, you know, ruin my skin or get skin cancer or anything like that. That's a belief. Those are beliefs.
Yes.
And if you believe those beliefs, then you end up spending a heck of a lot of money in the system that is looking for you to spend a lot of money that they can't fix you, but they want your money. So there's been a big campaign, in my opinion, to turn people against the sun.
Yes.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
I was hoping you'd talk about that.
And yet it's our source of light, it's our source of health, it's also our source of energy and information. Because it's not just warming us and allowing food to grow and the whole earth to blossom, it's also transmissions of information. And I think that's what the ancients knew. And there's stories, you know, in history that talk about people who, when they wanted to have covert activities, they would always do it at night. And they wouldn't do it in the light of day because the sun would then know, and then the sun would transmit that information. And so we came up with that expression, you know, doing things in the dark and keeping it secret. And so there's a lot.